In this equivalent circuit, we are going to consider resistor, capacitor, dependent current source and all, and we are going to rig up a circuit. That circuit is known as equivalent circuit, which is going to behave just like an JFET. So first we should analyze between the source and the gate, is there any resistance? Yes, there will be a resistance which is known as the source resistance. So since the resistance in the sense some opposition, it doesn't mean that there will be resistance will be fixed. Some opposition is offered here. So that opposition we will replace it by a resistor called RGS, gate to source resistance. So it is lying between source and the gate. So gate and the source. So how you are going to write this equivalent circuit is mark gate, drain, and a source. In the three, mark 3 points: source, gate, drain. Between this gate and source, we are having the resistance. So we are having that source resistance here. So source resistance is only with respect to the source. Again, between the source and gate, there is one more resistance that is known as RGS, gate to source resistance. Between these two, there is resistance. Alone, source alone will offer some resistance. That resistance is this one. And between these two, some resistance is offered, that is this resistance. And after that, between the source and the gate, since we know that source source is going to have a metallic contact, and even the gate is also having a metallic contact, and in between these two metallic contact there is no connection. So there is a substrate, p substrate or n substrate or n layer which is existing. So just tell me, you have two metallic plates which are placed uh, closer together, separated by a small distance. What does it give out? Two metallic plates separated by a small distance. That distance might be, yeah,
Capacitor.
capacitor. So that distance, whatever I'm telling, that might be filled with any material, or it might be filled with N-type, P-type material, or it might be filled with air, water, or anything that acts as a dielectric medium. So here, the source, the metallic contact of the source and metallic contact of the gate. Between those two, we are having n layer. Between this metallic plate and this metallic plate, we are having m layer. So these two forms a capacitor. That capacitor is gate to source capacitor. See, this is how you have to analyze how we got each individual component. So it is here, because of the presence of these two metallic plates, there exists a capacitance. There exists a capacitance. So that is gate to source capacitance. After this, between the gate and the drain. Again, gate is it has a metallic contact or ohmic contact, and drain is having a metallic contact or ohmic contact. Between these two, it is having a dielectric medium. So that is gate to drain capacitance. That is going to act like a gate to drain capacitance. Again, between this gate and drain, there offer some resistance, or there will be some opposition offered between these two terminals. That resistance is known as gate to drain resistance. And again, between the drain and the source, because source is grounded, you have seen the uh, construction. So if I take this to our p type, If I take this to as P type, this is a metallic contact, this is a metallic contact, this is metallic, this is metallic. So this is the drain, this is the gate, gate, this is the source. We know that source will be grounded. So when you connect a battery to the drain, what we'll do, we'll connect another terminal to the source. So then we'll tell it as VDS. That means there will be a contact, there will be a contact, or there will be connection between the drain and the source, and it offers some resistance, because you are telling voltage source means voltage source will always offer some resistance. So if you are connecting drain and source through a voltage source, then there should be a resistance. That resistance is known as drain to source resistance. Drain to source resistance. Again, since this drain is having a metallic contact, source is having a metallic contact, between these two metallic contact, we are having a gap. That gap forms a capacitor, drain to source capacitor. So again, with respect to the source, you have a metallic contact, here, and there is a ground terminal again. So it also constitutes an individual source capacitance. And here you should see that the gate to source is connected from this point. It is not connected directly to the source terminal. It will be connected to the common point. This we call it as a common point. Even in the breadboard connection, we will have this common point. So all your source connection will be here. All the source connection will be here. Why I have written RS separately here is because finally we are going to ground. So there it offers some resistance internally. This is internal resistance of source. It is the internal resistance of the source. So this is how we are going to write the components. Now, where are we getting the current? The output current at the input side or output side? Where are we getting? Where we are getting the current? See, where we are getting the current from the transistor?
So the current flows from drain to source.
Yeah, where we are getting, see, suppose I want to connect a load, where I should connect. I want to connect a load. Load means a device. I want to connect a device to this transistor means to which terminal I should connect?
Drain and source.
Drain, right? So I need to connect to the drain. So here the current which is obtained at the drain, the current which is obtained at the drain will be maximum. The current which is obtained at the drain will be maximum. So now, since as I told, we will be connecting the load or a device which wants to have the current towards it, that device will be connected to the drain. So drain now acts like a source, current source to the device. That's why between this is the drain terminal and this is the source terminal. Between the drain and the source, we write a current source. And what kind of current source is it? Is it an independent current source or dependent current source?
Dependent.
Dependent. Why it is known as why it is dependent here? Why not? Why can't we use a independent current source? Hmm? Why we are using this dependent current source? Why not independent current source? Is ID an independent current or it is dependent upon some parameter? Hmm? Is it dependent upon some parameter?
Yes, sir.
Which parameter?
Voltage.
Voltage at the gate, that is ID is dependent upon gate to source voltage. So based upon the gate voltage whatever you are applying, based on that the ID current will be increasing or decreasing. So since the drain current is dependent upon the gate to source voltage, we will be using a dependent current source, not the independent current source. Okay, so this is how actually we are going to write the structure. After this, this equivalent circuit, whatever we have obtained, this is considering practical case, and also here I was telling small signal. Small signal means this is applicable for a smaller frequency signal. So when you are considering small signal, so, lower signals, during that time this circuit will hold good. But when we consider an ideal case, in ideal case, what we assume, see here I told there is some opposition offered internally. So we are having RGS, CGS, RGD, RDS, all those things. But in ideal case, what happens? In ideal case, we assume that our transistor is fully ideal. It doesn't offer any resistance. There is no opposition inside, right? So when there is no opposition inside, during that time, what we do is we are going to remove all the resistor capacitors which are available. So we are going to remove all the resistors and capacitors. The same circuit, we are just going to ignore RGS, CGS, RGD, CGD, all whatever we have written, the resistance which we till now we discussed, no, the resistance which is between source, gate to source, all those things that we are going to neglect. On neglecting them, we are going to obtain as ideal equivalent circuit. In ideal equivalent circuit, there is only current source and a ground. This way, this is an ideal equivalent circuit. But in ideal equivalent circuit also, it is assumed that there is some small amount of source resistance. There is small amount of source resistance because if you are going to connect the current source directly to the ground during that time, so all the current will go to ground. So if you are going to get the output here, V naught here, there should be some resistance. That's why we will add one resistance called RS. We'll add the resistance RS. Now to this, now whatever we have obtained, this circuit will be the ideal equivalent circuit. So now we write the equation for IDS. IDS is nothing but
It is nothing but ID only. Since it flows between drain and source, we are going to call it as IDS. So it is actually ID. So IDS, since we know that IDS is obtained here, this is IDS. But this is a dependent current source. This dependent current source is dependent upon, this IDS is dependent upon VGS, and also based upon the conductivity, your drain to source current will be increasing. Conductivity increases, current increases. Okay, and also it depends upon gate to source voltage, how much gate to source voltage we are applying. So based upon these two parameters, the drain to source current is going to be obtained. So that's why IDS is a dependent current source which is dependent upon two parameters. One is conductance and other one is gate to source voltage. So this is how we wrote this equation. Now we can consider this IDS, since initially here VGS was between gate to source, and again here also gate to source. But when you are going to insert a resistance RS, during that time the voltage whatever you are obtaining, here, this is plus and this is minus. So now since there is RS, there will be some amount of drop. We cannot tell VGS is equal to VG dash S dash. You cannot tell VG dash and S dash are equal. They are not equal, because here it was equal. This is also gate, this source, between these two we had VGS. But now we are considering VGS between this terminal to this terminal. So between these two we are measuring. So there is some amount of drop because by RS. When there is a resistance, there is a voltage drop. So now VGS is not equal to the voltage what we are having here. That's why I replaced it with G dash S dash. So VGS is not equal to VG dash S dash. So now apply KVL starting from this minus to plus VGS. After that plus to minus. So we take this loop. This loop we are going to take minus to plus VGS. After that plus to minus VG dash S dash. After that coming here, the entering point we take it as positive, leaving point we take it as negative. So minus RS, and what is that current which is flowing through RS? What is the current which is flowing through RS?
GMVG dash S.
GMVG dash is nothing but IDS, right? So we can write IDS or GMVG dash S dash. So now shift it on other side, we get VGS is equal to VG dash S dash plus RS into GM VG dash S dash. So we take VG dash S dash common, 1 plus RS into GM. And again we know that IDS is equal to GM into VGS. So we are going to again rearrange for, we are going to just substitute for GM dash. So GM dash is given by GM by 1 plus GM into RS. By this equation only we are going to just rearrange them, and by rearranging this equation we obtain IDS, and IDS is now GM dash VGS. Initially it was GM into VGS, but now since we are having a drop of RS, it is GM dash VGS. Okay, this is how we obtain this formula. After this, frequency limitation factors and cutoff frequency. So we know that frequency and capacitor. So can anyone tell me frequency and capacitor, they are directly proportional or inversely proportional? They're directly proportional or inversely proportional?
Inversely proportional, sir.
They are inversely proportional to each other. So if you are talking about small signal, let us take f is minimum. So when f is minimum, what happens to the capacitors? When frequency is minimum, what happens to the capacitor? You know, f is inversely proportional to c. When this is minimum, what happens to this?
Maximum.
This will be maximum. The capacitor will become maximum. So when the capacitor becomes maximum, what will come into picture? Do you know this term? What is this? XC. Have you heard about this term XC?
Capacitive reactance. It's a capacitive reactance.
Capacitive reactance. So when what is the formula for capacitive reactance with respect to capacitance?
1/2 pi. It's a 1/2 pi FC.
That means 1 by
Omega C.
omega c. So that is 2 pi FC. Is it?
Yes, sir.
So in this case, what happens under lower frequency, whenever the frequency is lesser, the capacitance values will be increasing. So during that time, what happens? The charging time will be increasing. Charging time will be increasing. So this charging time is given by L by Vs. Tau is the charging time. So what happens when capacitance is maximum and the length of that particular the channel, length of the channel is also maximum. If L is, let us take some example like 1 micrometer, and this will, let us take it is 10 to the power of 7. So now in this time, when the capacitance is increasing, during that time there will be change in the transit time also. So transit time is nothing but the charging time, the charges which are flowing through the capacitor. So when capacitance is increasing, the transit time will also change. So from this, what we understand is under lower frequency the behavior of the capacitance in the equivalent circuit is different. At the same time, when the frequency is higher, during that time the capacitance will be minimum. So during that time, the behavior of the capacitance will be different. So the capacitor and the frequency are interrelated to each other, and it plays an important role. So that's why in some cases we are going to just ignore this capacitors, and some cases we are going to consider this capacitor. That depends upon what kind of signal you are going to provide, what kind of frequency you are going to provide, whether it is a small signal or large signal. After this, the next one is the two-terminal MOS structure. So in the two-terminal MOS structure, here the main consideration what we are going to do is the metal contact of the gate. So gate metal contact. So in the construction you have seen there was 3 metallic contacts, and there was a SiO2 layer. So the source and the drain were having contact with the N well, but gate was not having any contact, right? So the gate was separated by this channel by a SiO2 layer or an oxide layer. Now just imagine this gate is also a metallic, it is a metallic contact, and here we have a channel. Now, can anyone tell me, in order to increase the conduction process in the MOS, this is about the MOS structure we are talking, MOSFET. Okay, so in order to increase, so this is still these are the topics related to JFET. Now we are talking about the topics related to the MOSFET. Already we have discussed the construction and working. So now we are going to discuss the concepts I told you, that concepts. So now this is a metallic contact and this is a channel. Can anyone tell me the potential or the type of the charge carriers, or the potential at the gate and potential at the channel, will they, both of them will be same or different? I'll repeat the question again. Type means positive, negative. Positive charge, negative charge. Okay. So now my question is, the charge on the gate and charge on this channel will be same or different? Charge on the gate and charge on the channel, will it be same or different? This is the gate terminal. After that we are having an oxide layer. See, this is, we are just concentrating between the gate terminal and substrate. Don't worry about drain and source. Only this is about the gate we are displaying here. Now question is, the charge on this plate and charge on this channel, here we will be having a channel, no, to connect source and drain. So charge on these two will be same or different when we start conduction process. Nilada?
Same, sir.
Same. recall the working of MOSFET. How gate will be used for the conduction process. Anybody? Nivedita?
Yes, sir.
What is your answer for this? Charge on the gate and charge on the channel will be same or different?
I think it should be same.
If it is same, does it conduct?
No, sir. It should be different.
It should be different for it to conduct. Then it will get attracted to the.
Correct.
Yeah, only then it can get conducted. Yes.
Yes, very good. So it should be opposite. If you are taking, let us say, this is N channel. To increase the conductivity, what we do, we apply positive potential. Then all the electrons will get attracted towards this. Suppose, let us take, it is an E MOSFET. In E MOSFET, we don't have a permanent channel. We have to construct the channel. To construct the channel, what we have to do? We have to apply positive electric field. When you apply positive electric field, all the minority charge carriers which are present in the substrate, they get attracted towards the gate terminal, and they are going to form a layer, N-type layer, N channel, and such that we can connect our source and drain. So from this, what we understood is the channel here or layer which is here will be always opposite to the contact here. So now I'll take conducting material and I'm going to make it completely positive. I'm going to feed it with positive charges. Okay, and I'm going to take one more layer and I'm going to feed it with negative charges. Now, can I consider this as a positive plate and this as negative plate?
Yes, sir.
We can consider, right? In the same way now, here in this our MOS structure, this metallic plate, this is going to act as positive metallic plate of a capacitor. You know, the capacitor, one will be positive and other will be negative. So this acts as a one plate of a parallel plate, and this acts as another plate. This kind of analysis or this kind of structure is known as two-terminal MOS structure. This kind of terminal structure is known as two-terminal MOS structure. They started analyzing it. Then they came to know that initially their idea was just to create a layer. Then they started analyzing it. Then they came to know that this metal plate and this layer, whatever is created, both of them are acting like a capacitor plates. That's why they came up with a concept called two-terminal MOS structure. Okay, so here the two-terminal MOS structure, we are analyzing it. See, in the initial, while explaining the MOS structure, MOSFET, I told you the charges will not flow from this plate to this plate, but charge will get induced. The same thing will happen no in the capacitor plate. Do you think in the capacitor plates the charge will flow from this plate to this plate? If you take two metal plates, one is positive and other one is negative, do you think the charges will flow in the air and move to the other terminal?
Charges are induced, sir. Charges are induced.
They are inbuilt, but we are going to energize them, no? How you are going to get energize them? It is by creating a field, right? See here, when you are going to create a field, we are explaining the concept of capacitor here. See, this is one plate which is connected to the positive. This is the other plate which is connected to the negative. Because of the electric field which is applied from the positive plate, that field is going to energize the charges which are already present in the plate. And if you are going to have positive charges here, automatically it is going to induce the negative charge, because carriers will be already present. The carriers will be already present. The duty of this battery is to energize them. Energize them means to give some charge to them, to give some energy to them. That energy is charge. So if you are giving positive charge, then this becomes a positive charge carriers, all of them. So if you are going to, so when it is positive, automatically on the other plate, negative charges has to be induced. So this kind of analysis is known as two-terminal MOS structure. The same thing here, this is with respect to the plate, and E indicates the permittivity of the oxide layer. EOX is permittivity of the oxide layer. As we tell when metallic plate, we tell the permittivity of the free space, relative permittivity, all those things will tell, no? Epsilon, epsilon naught, all those things will come, which you have studied in your 12th or PU, second PU. So in the same way here, this oxide layer will be the dielectric medium between the two plates. And the permittivity of this oxide layer is the epsilon OX, oxide layer. So now, after this two-terminal MOS structure concept, next we study about the energy band diagrams. So in the energy band diagram, first we have taken if gate is 0, what happens? If gate is negative, what happens? If the gate is positive, what happens? So in the first figure a 0 applied gate voltage bias. So there is a 0 applied, a gate is applied with 0 voltage. So during that time, this is the conduction band, this is the valence band, this is the Fermi level and intrinsic Fermi level. All of them will be straight. All of them will be straight, and intrinsic Fermi level, it will be in the exactly middle between EC and EF. You can see that it is exactly middle. But when you are going to apply the negative, and for your information, we have taken a p-type substrate, and this is the oxide layer, and this is a gate. So when you are going to give a negative voltage is applied, when negative voltage is applied, during that time, what happens? When negative voltage is applied, accumulation of positive charges will start taking place. When negative voltage is applied, accumulation of positive charges takes place across the oxide layer, because all the positive charges start moving towards this oxide layer. So now, in the valence band and in the conduction band, initially only I have told, in valence band, which are the charge carriers present. In conduction band, which are the charge carriers present? Usually in valence band, which are the charge carriers present? In conduction band, which are the charge carriers present usually? Or majority charge carriers?
Electrons in valence band, sir.
Hmm. Okay. After applying voltage, I am talking about. Bohr's atomic model. Analyze this with Bohr's atomic model. Anybody? In valence band, which are the charge carriers present? In conduction band, which are the charge carriers present? Nobody. First module. In valence band, usually positive charges will be present. In the conduction band, usually the negative charges, that is electrons, will be present, because only electrons can jump from valence to conduction band. If you are telling the conduction band is there, then electrons can only jump from valence to conduction band. So in the conduction band, electrons will be present. In the valence band, holes will be present. Holes are the positive charge carriers. Now, when a negative voltage is applied, the accumulation of the positive charges takes place. Now, when accumulation of the positive charges takes place means, can you tell me whether the holes are more or electrons are more now?
Holes will be more, sir.
Holes will be more. So that's why what happens? The Fermi level will be the Fermi level will be towards the valence band. Now, when you are going to apply a moderate positive gate bias, that means when you apply moderate positive voltage, so during that time what happens? The accumulation of the positive charges will be lesser. Here accumulation of holes was there. Here the accumulation of holes will be reduced and the accumulation of the electron starts taking place. So accumulation of electrons start taking place. Because of this, what happens? The Fermi level slowly starts moving towards the conduction band. So this is the capacitance voltage characteristics. It is what they have done is they have just combined this and this together, and this is the same Fermi level or the energy band diagrams which I have just explained. So from this, what we understand is, this is an ideal low frequency capacitance versus gate voltage. So this is the gate voltage and this is the capacitance. We are plotting the graph. When the gate voltage is, and we have considered P-type. In P-type, what kind of gate voltage should be there? Positive or negative?
Positive.
Positive or negative voltage will apply. Okay. We'll take all the cases. Positive voltage and no voltage negative voltage. Okay, so positive voltage means on the first quadrant. This is plus Vg, this is minus Vg. See, when you are going to apply plus Vg, when you apply positive gate voltage in the p-type material, what kind of charges will be attracted towards the gate? I'm applying positive gate voltage. I'm asking what kind of, this is the gate. Okay, here a channel.
Electrons will attract, sir.
Electrons will be getting attracted, right? If you apply positive, electrons will be getting attracted. So can I tell electrons are the inverse of positive charges? Or suppose this is one layer, this is positive layer, and layer is created here, electron layer. Can I call it as inversion layer? Inversion layer. This is positive layer and I'll call this negative layer as inversion layer. Inversion means what? What do you mean by inversion meaning? Opposite, no. Positive. Here it is negative. So because of the application of positive gate voltage, a strong inversion layer is obtained. Strong inversion layer means a thick layer of N-type material is obtained. That N-type material is known as inversion layer. Okay. Now, if you are going to slowly decrease this Vg, when you are going to slowly decrease this Vg, now what happens? When you are decreasing that Vg, slowly that inversion layer will be keep on decreasing. When your Vg is going towards 0, during that time automatically and it goes to 0, and after that it will start getting minus Vg. So when you are having minus Vg, what kind of charges will accumulate here? When you go for minus Vg, what kind of charges will accumulate here? Initially electrons accumulated. Now what kind of charges will appear here when I am going to give negative voltage?
Holes, sir.
Holes. That is positive charge. So whenever the positive charges accumulate, we call, see here we told no, when positive charges were accumulating, we call it as accumulation layer of holes. Okay, so now it enters into the accumulation layer. So when Vg is negative, more negative, accumulation takes place. When Vg goes towards 0, normal depletion layer will be there. After that, when Vg starts getting positive, during that time slowly an inversion, moderate inversion layer will take place. After that a strong inversion layer takes place. Strong inversion layer means N layer. Accumulation layer means P layer. So when you are having negative gate voltage, then the capacitor, whatever you are obtaining, that will be obtained by creating a P layer, artificially creating a P layer. The same capacitance is obtained when positive gate voltage is applied. It is also going to obtain same amount of capacitance, but that is an inversion layer, that is an N layer. By creating an N layer, we are going to create the capacitance. This graph will be telling you. So when an accumulation layer takes place, and inversion layer takes place. See, now it is with respect to N type. In N type, what happens when you apply positive gate voltage? In N type layer, accumulate in N type, which are the in the N type, it is exactly reverse. In N type, accumulation charges are electrons. Please remember, in P type, the accumulation charges are holes. In N type, the accumulation charges are electrons. Accumulation charges are usually the charges which are majority, which are in majority. Accumulation charges are the majority charges. So in N-type substrate, the majority charge carriers are electrons. So when you apply positive gate voltage, their electrons start accumulating, and that forms an accumulation layer. So when your VG is going towards negative, again an inversion layer takes place. So this is minus VG. When you go to minus VG, during that time, accumulation of holes takes place, and you'll be having the gate as minus and the layer, whatever you are obtaining, as positive. Okay, so this is about this particular chapter.